It might be the offseason, but the Wisconsin Badgers basketball staff was hard at work checking out one of their future stars. Let's get into it. Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. So incredibly honored to have you here. There's a lot of things you can be doing with your time, so to spend a little bit of it here with us is amazing. Today's episode, we're talking about LaTrevion Fenderson, big-time athlete, really important part of that 2026 class, scouting report with him. Hayden Jones, Jackson Ball, really excited to get into them. Aiden Reeder, we have an incredible guest, bringing him on. It's Nick Gosen joining the show once again. Always honored to have him on. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. Nick, let us talk about LaTrevion Fenderson, 2026 small forward, 6'5", Racine, Wisconsin. I know you took a trip out to see him personally. What's your latest scouting report on Fenderson?
Ryan, always great to be back, and thank you, of course, to all the great people that stayed up this late to follow. We were obviously watching some hoops. And speaking of hoops, I went out to Hamilton, Ohio, about an hour away from Cincinnati, out to see Under Armour and obviously Fenderson's team with Playground Club. And, Ryan, I did a bunch of stories coming from it. And quite honestly, I came away impressed. Now, I will always kind of get into the scouting aspect and, where there can be some improvements. And he would tell you himself, which I really love. I love the honesty, the motivation, the focus from a young player like that. But, man, he is strong. He's out there. He's one of the strongest players on the floor. He's automatically one of the best defenders. His first step is a little bit quicker and more explosive than I kind of expected or than I'd maybe seen from people. So I would certainly, like what I saw there. His shot looks good. He had a couple jumpers. He had a three that went in and out in the couple games that I was there. But, still, obviously, I think that his shooting is coming along really well. Finishes through contact, and it's just crazy good motor. So I really like what I see, and the fact that he knows, I can, tighten up my ball handling, and obviously three-point shooting can come along. Those are really good things to hear because he's still got this summer, Ryan. He's still got another year at a great program like DME, and the Wisconsin basketball staff was there, like you alluded to in your great intro, and I think there is a lot of excitement there. As long as he continues to develop, I think he could be a good piece to the program in the future.
Watching film on him, and it's great to get that eyewitness account because when I'm watching film, I'm watching huddle, I'm watching cut-ups, I'm watching some on synergy. Mm-hmm. The thing I really like about him, the first thing that sticks out to me, and you kind of hit on it, is he doesn't get knocked off his line when he straight line drives. Like there is the Big Ten's a physical league, man. The wings at Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue, they're going to beat you up a little bit. This is the type of guy, gets that first step, gets you on the hip, gets you on the shoulder, and then gets to the rim, which bodes well to get to the free throw line, but he finishes really well there. I like the athletic profile, and it's not that Wisconsin doesn't get that, but I think he gives you a little bit more from that wing spot than some of the guys they traditionally get.
Yeah, no, Ryan, I totally agree. And I mean, I remember writing and I think even tweeting, like within 2 minutes into the game, I was like, wow, he is more explosive. Like I said, because it was a baseline drive. I think he went left on the baseline, finished with a nice reverse layup. I was like, okay, and they weren't playing like one of the best teams out there, but they weren't bad by any means. It was a good game. I really enjoyed my conversation with him and his father/coach, Levante Fenderson. Enjoyed speaking with them after. And let's just say there will be more scouting coming from me, seeing him and several other future Badgers this summer. I'm really excited because as we know, this next month we'll get into some football recruiting, and that is the main story. But after that, things slow up a little bit in football ahead of fall camp. Like that's an official type of thing now with the recruiting calendar. That's changed a little bit. So that'll give me a lot more time to focus on some hoops as well.
Let me hit you on the couple questions I had with Fenderson's game. You saw him in person. I wonder about the shot consistency a little bit. I felt like it looked good when he would take it, but there was I think there was some consistency issues there. And then you mentioned the ball handling. It feels like that's an area he could clean up. He's still young. Like there's a lot of growth still here. Anything you saw in person that you would either agree or disagree with those takes?
No, I think that's fair because I loved hearing that he said it specifically. So that's where you're not kind of being overly critical. Like I think you want him as kind of the the secondary ball handler, playing off of like a true on-ball one type of guard. So I think that's the expectation going forward. And he's got good size, so he shouldn't be like locked in, to the one spot necessarily, especially as we talk about some other members of these classes. But Ryan, I actually thought his jump shot looked pretty good. Like he hit a couple pull-ups. I think they were consistent. You can always get that release a little bit faster going forward, but I liked it. And I also want to say I think he's a really good teammate. Like there were a couple times he was wide open for a corner three. They didn't get it to him. And trust me, I see a lot of guys, AAU, high school level, like, come on, like, look for me. I was open. I mean, you see that in the NBA sometimes. Like, it happens, even if they're just like, kind of being positive, hey, that was my shot. But he was very, very positive, motivational, energetic. And again, the defense and the motor are there. And that's super important to see from a high schooler like him, like Kins, like Garlock. Like, these are things you have to see mentally to be a good player at this level.
Yeah, I love that because those are the things that you can't really pick up watching Huddle. You can't really see those interactions on Synergy on Huddle because those clips aren't there. And that's one of the things you mentioned, Kins. When you go watch Kins in person, and I was able to see him a couple times, he is so good from an intangible standpoint, on the bench cheering for his teammates, pointing out on defense, running through screens, like all those little things. You see that in person, and it's awesome that you see that with Fenderson. You mentioned you talked to him. What's he like talking to? Who would you maybe compare him from a personality standpoint on the team that you've talked with?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. He almost has kind of the humility and like not wanting to kind of go on about himself a lot, like maybe John Tonje, John Blackwell. I mean, a lot of the guys are very humble, like Carter Gilmore, but I think a little bit, kind of on the quieter side. But once he gets rolling, it's a lot of fun, and you can just tell this opportunity to be a Badger like means a lot. He's not somebody that is going to take that lightly. And again, Ryan, I'm excited because like I try to get out to see these guys. And geez, I probably saw Garlock 5 to 6 times, Kins like 4 times. So, you want to be consistent both from like a coverage aspect, but also kind of having that info, right? Like you mentioned, to be able to pass along to the 247 readers and things. So I'm intrigued and I'm excited to see. I also want to note within that team, before we get into some future Badgers, Xavier Zenz is also going to be a D1 guy. I thought that he was pretty good over the weekend. He picked up, I think, 3 or 4 offers based on his performances. He's obviously the same class as Fenderson, and it was shared with me that he will be at Badgers camp this next month. So that's going to be really intriguing to see how he does in that element. I do think he could be a high major player. Obviously, that'll be a big opportunity, but yeah, I'm excited to see. He's like a 6'7" guard forward, like 210, 215, versatile, can shoot, defend. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I was watching some clips of him the other day. He feels like the perfect fit for the type of offense they're going towards. He can dribble a little bit. He can shoot. He's got good eyes. Yeah, interchangeable. We got a bunch we want to cover here. So, listen, I could talk about Fenderson with you for 30 minutes, but we're not going to. I have one more question on Fenderson because I watch him play and I've watched him evolve a little bit and get a little bit bigger. What's his college position? Because I think he's maybe a 3 with the body of kind of a 2 in a way. And I'm not sure. What do you think there?
Well, it helps, I think, that Wisconsin has this like almost positionless offense. But he, like I said, and like he knows, the 3-pointer will have to get more consistent. So I think basically you could slide him into that, I'll say 2, but what I mean is really just off-ball guard. I'm not saying, he's always just going to come in and kind of be the key shooter. I think his game is a little bit more like a driver, a slasher, a 3-type wing is what I would say. But if he doesn't maybe grow like an inch or so to get to like 6'6", then that is kind of that 2-3 type body. But as we know, I mean, within this offense, the fun is you get to move around a lot. He likes the sound of this offense. He likes the pace of it right now. But yeah, shooting, consistency, that'll be huge. And I just can't wait to keep following, quite honestly.
Man, phenomenal stuff that you only get from people who are able to see those guys in person. We're going to take a quick second here. We're going to come back and talk about a big-time football recruit that we both really like, and then 2 future Badgers from kind of the land down under that have a lot of upside. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, a quick second to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. And listen, if you're watching the game today, I know I was. I know Nick was. That was absolutely incredible. FanDuel can help spice it up a little bit more if you're interested in it. Plus, Major League Baseball is going on. That's a ton of fun to bet on as well. There's futures, parlay, spreads, teasers. And I always mention this, FanDuel, you're getting your money quickly if you win. It's like your grandma. Grandma Herrings, when she owes me money, I get money from Grandma Herrings that quickly and that simply. That's like FanDuel. You get what you're supposed to get when you're supposed to get it. No strings, no ropes to jump through. FanDuel is incredible. Right now, there's a great new offer if you're new to it. Perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Let's jump back into this, continue with Nick, because we never get enough time with him. Let's talk about Jackson Ball and Hayden Jones. I know you were able to watch them in person on TV. You know, they were playing. Let's start with Jackson Ball, because this is a guy that Badger fans are getting increasingly excited about. 6'4", 6'5", guard with really a kind of elite playmaking skills, the ability to shoot. What are your thoughts on Jackson Ball?
No, you do know ball, man. And I mean it, like, in general, because I know we've talked as much as we talk football and love it. Like, I know you've got a good basketball mind. I would say he's a little bit closer to 6'4". I don't think he's quite 6'5", no matter how he's listed, just seeing kind of how he's lining up against some of these guys, but still very young. He could easily grow another inch and a half. Because remember, he's in Fenderson's class. And yeah, Ryan, you know, like early on, I want to say it was the first week or two. Like, I don't want to overhype it, but he was like number 2 or 3 in the MVP ladder for that league. I mean, he was putting up numbers. Now, I think it's come down to earth a little bit, but still, like, I think he had, I want to say 24 in that game, close to 50% from the field. Wasn't his best game from deep. But no, he's a good player and a really, really good early eval from the staff, a good get. He can handle really well. I love his first step, like I mentioned about Fenderson. He can pass. He can get to the cup. Pretty strong, too. And, of course, he can shoot. So I think ideally, yeah, you'd love to see, you know, grow another inch or so, continue to get, like, more consistent from deep. Not a lot of turnovers, but I loved what I saw. I mean, there's a reason, like, that's gotten a ton of actual national hype for Jackson Ball and the Badgers. And then Hayden Jones, you know, it's interesting. I've spoken with him, and I was speaking with some people close with him after that game. And, you know, so it sounds like basically you get 3 quote unquote imports. Like, that's what it's called within these teams. Basically, I take that as, like, I think players that weren't necessarily, you know, like from New Zealand. And so his team just loaded up, and they got former Texas standout. I don't know if you remember the story. I think he battled cancer for a while, Andrew Jones, but a really, really good player. And so basically Hayden Jones' minutes have gone down a little bit. But, like, he's got that really good size, frame. He's athletic. He can defend. And he got to the cup pretty easily, too. Now, he didn't score as much. He probably wasn't featured as much offensively. So maybe a guy that, you know, maybe takes a little bit more time to get into the rotation. But, like, I wrote it when they got him. I still think, again, especially in a system like this, I want to see his jump shot more, but could be really efficient, I think, down the line. I don't know if he's going to come in maybe like Jackson or like Kins and play right away, but just adding that context of basically, you know, his role was a little bit diminished because of that. He is headed to play on the U19 team with Jackson Ball. So obviously they're looked at very, very highly. And we also have to remember it's a professional league. Like, I understand I'm not comparing it to like the NBA, but like they're playing guys that had a shot at the NBA or had a cup of coffee in the NBA or were all Big Ten type guys, all SEC. So you've got to keep that in mind. Love the evals. I think Ball could be a star, and I think Jones is just going to be a really good, versatile fit from what I've seen.
Yeah, you're right in line with me. Again, like Legos, sometimes we stick together. Like here's the thing with Jones. I love the size and I think the fit into what this scheme wants players to do. I think he's going to have some versatility we talked about with Fenderson. A little different athletes for sure, different types of players. And then with Ball, I think that the massive upside with Ball is there's a potential he becomes a supersized one, like a jumbo size point guard. Because I think he has that type of that skill set. And if you get a point guard with some toughness, some feel, who's 6'5" and can shoot the ball, that's a potential star, man. Like he could. Yeah. I am getting so high on the upside down the road with Ball. I think both are good fits, but I think Ball has potential star ceiling.
And I think we need to follow Ryan, add it to our laundry list of things, right? But I think we need to follow during their run this summer because I think we're going to get a little bit of a better feel for Hayden Jones. I don't want to make too quick of a judgment call basically based on the first cut up clip and then that one game, especially with that context. Like, I think, and I know that the program is actually quite excited about him. So I'm intrigued to see, what kind of happens. But like, he was a little bit taller than I think they expected when he came here to campus and for Hayden Jones. And I'm just really intrigued to see how he comes in with this year and then how Ball can further develop this next year and a half.
Yeah, I love that. Rog says Jackson Ball's potential be I can never pronounce that Illinois freaking guys. You know what I'm saying.
Yakachonis. Yep, KJ.
Maybe a tick or two below that, but definitely has that potential. Thank you, Rog. Yeah, I butchered that pronunciation. I did that all year too with him.
Rog knows some ball. I hope he's on my board.
Yeah, Rog does for sure. Let me ask you this. Aiden Reeder. So we haven't had you on the show in a bit. Obviously, you're super busy. Aiden Reeder committed to the Badgers program, inside linebacker, really interesting athlete. What do you think of that commitment and of his film? Kind of a high 3-star composite guy.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm trying to just quickly think of the commits in the class so far. Along with a guy like, Tayshawn Bardo, maybe Reeder might be my favorite ad, like football fit-wise so far. I understand the rating. I think that's from Alan True, who does a phenomenal job. I personally feel that Reeder could get up to like an 89 or 90 just because of, I think, the way – this is something Alan and I both saw, and I think our friend Justin felt this way too. He's so fluid. I think that he's very athletic, but he just makes kind of his movement and mobility look so easy. Great read and react, smart, really good leader out there. I remember the first time I spoke with him, Ryan, it just felt like a perfect fit for this program. And, he's a guy that the staff and the program are excited about. Like, there was some legitimate contenders there, especially in the Big Ten Conference, which is always intriguing and a good thing when you can kind of keep them out. And so I'm really excited. I kind of wrote this in my scout. It was actually one of my favorite ones. I said, I'm not comparing him to top 247, top 12 or 13 linebacker Mason Posa. But I think that if you put them side by side, you actually see some similarities in the game. To me, it's the read and react. It's the fluidity in the way they move. And the fact that I believe, I'm not sure how Tressel and the staff are going to use him, but I believe he's a guy who'll play inside, but you can stunt him a little bit. And I do think he can get to the passer. And based on your reaction, you may agree.
Yeah, I love that. He feels kind of like a switchblade to me, where you can a Swiss Army knife, not a switchblade. I apologize. But I think there's a lot you can do with him, right? I think he's flexible enough to drop. He's got the frame to kind of get into some passing lanes. I think he's quick enough and he gets off blocks to rush the passer. I think he can play in space some. I think there's a lot you can do with him. And to your point, I think there's ways you can use him in different facets of this defense that Tressel, I think, could really exploit. So, yeah, I think that's a really nice pickup. I could see him getting into that low 4-star range, depending on what this feels like this year. Maybe gets a little bit bigger. But
yeah, good program too. So
yeah, I agree. I really like him.
Good potential. No, I really do too, Ryan. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm always going to look at the positives in terms of like when I do these scouts, of course, and I'll know where they can grow, like we talked about with Fenderson. But like, man, I was watching his film and I was like, damn, like this dude's really good. Like, I actually think that some programs might have even missed and like under recruited him a little bit. But yeah, huge on the brotherhood. He was really impressed. I'll shout out a couple guys, CA, Christian Allegro and Cooper Catalano. They did a phenomenal job kind of hosting him a little bit, like showing him around campus, just on kind of some parts of the unofficial. So I could see him getting in the 2 deep within his first 2 years, or at least special teams early on.
Yeah, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some official visitors you're tracking. Obviously, those weekends are coming up. Plus, we got some questions from the Discord to throw your way. But I first always want to give you an opportunity to share all the great stuff you're doing. Where can people find the work that you've got going on?
Thank you, Ryan. I've got some things I'm really excited about for the summer, to be honest. Badger 247. We tweet out just about all our stories. We've got a strong 3-man crew and, fresh content every single day.
No, I love it, man. And I think everyone that watches the show probably knows where 247 is, but if you don't have a sub, I'm on there. I'm not as active on the boards because I'm busier, but I'm always on there. It's great stuff, great content. Yeah, definitely go give Nick a follow and an opportunity there. I can tell you right now, you're not going to regret that.
If I could just add real quick, Ryan, just because I'm one of those reporters that's like a man of the people. I would never say to check out something if I wouldn't back it up. Fresh content every single day. It's like $25, I think, right now, 26 for a full year. And we're going to have some more promos too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I spent $25 on McDonald's the other day. So let's just keep this real here. That's a deal. All right, we're going to take a break here, come back, talk some football recruiting, official visitors coming up, plus some Q&A from the Discord. That's coming up next. Locked On Badgers with the great and always wonderful Nick Osen. First, a quick second for our friends of the show, and a quick second, as always, say thank you for hanging with us. Really do appreciate everyone hanging out. Let's get Nick back on. And I want to start here, man. Official visits, obviously, coming up. That's a big part of what you do. It's a big part of the recruiting calendar. Give me a couple guys. I know there's a ton, and a lot of that you can find on your board, so I encourage people, again, to go check that out. Give me a couple guys you're really tracking here as we get into June.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, as we know, and I kind of know we looked through some of the questions that we're going to hit on, so I'm going to try not to have too many repeats, but honestly, I'll probably start with a couple pass catchers. In fact, most of the list I wrote down is, first up, Zach Washington, somebody that we have talked about a bunch. I've talked about a bunch on, our friends' shows as well. It's still going to be a battle from what I understand, but the staff has put a lot of time in with him. I think that he and his family have really seen that. Obviously, in Illinois, wideout, some of the top competition, Michigan State, Indiana, West Virginia, he has OBs locked in, Ole Miss potential. And so we'll see. He's coming that first week. We'll see if the Badgers can continue to make headway. Jaden Petit, another big-time wideout coming from Florida. I believe same weekend. He's, a little bit higher in terms of ratings. I actually think Washington could see a jump. But both like high 3, 4-star level guys that I'm kind of looking at. And then, again, I get that it's all offense, but Ryan, tight end is really intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of I feel like I'm really high on Jack Severs. I don't know if that's just because I've seen his tape a lot. I think he's a really impressive kid. I like guys that play multiple sports. A lot of these tight end targets do, but like he does. Those are just a few names, that really came to mind. Amari Latimer, obviously, will be a big one to track when he comes. And then let me think of one defensively quick. Jermaine Polk, who is actually continuing to rise on the defensive line, both for Wisconsin as well as throughout the Midwest. There's kind of a good 4 or 5.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I think it kind of dovetails. Again, I want to ask you a few more quick questions here, but that dovetails really well into Young Clip's question. Liggins, obviously, King Liggins is a guy they spent a lot of time recruiting, went to Illinois. What is the pecking order at defensive line? And maybe not so much the pecking order, but who you mentioned one in Polk. Who's a couple other guys that Badger fans maybe need to keep an eye on here?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of coverage on this player. I'm about to say. Actually spoke with him, so I want to make sure say his name correctly. You say you can go by DJ, but D2, I believe is how you say it. D2 Ba, Tennessee, Germantown defensive lineman. Wisconsin pushed to get an OV. They locked him in. Now Michigan State's like battling back late. A couple other schools in there. I think it's an all Big Ten battle at this point. He also went to Northwestern, so huge name to follow there. Arthur Scott. I think he just picked up Michigan State. Again, these Big Ten schools are similar with some of the offers right now. But Wisconsin was one of his most recent and largest offers. I'm pretty encouraged there. He's from Ohio. Just seeing that a little bit. And then also Jermaine Polk, like I mentioned. I think that he is maybe a little bit underrated. I'm just really impressed when I speak with these guys too, just because I think they'd be really strong fits within the team culture. That's going to be a battle. I know that Iowa State is deep in there. They've been in there for a while. I believe Iowa's now kind of really forcing their way into the picture. So those are kind of the key ones that I'm really looking at. There was another guy recently, but he just committed to UCLA. And yeah, then you talked about King, who that was an interesting recruitment. I mean, without going into crazy details, like Wisconsin did a phenomenal job and straight up was very, very, very much in the lead for a while, and things just kind of shifted really the last 5 or 6 days. So it's obviously interesting, but yeah, he's a good player, great kid.
Yeah, I can absolutely confirm that Wisconsin did a really good job with them, having with some
Mhm.
conversations I've had, and it
Yeah.
happens, it happens, and Brett Bielema's got a lot of Wisconsin connections. I've always felt this is a theory I have when you're gonna recruit to Wisconsin against Bielema for a kid from Illinois, Bielema and some of the other guys he has on his staff that have Wisconsin connections can very easily manipulate is the wrong word, but can tell you Wisconsin's great, but here's where we're a little better, and I know because 'cause I've been there. I just think it's a little hard recruitment to win at times because Bielema's got
It's
the rolling.
it's an interesting thing, like you mentioned, not just him, but, obviously having some former Badgers there. And I think that I don't know, my board didn't go too crazy or anything, and I love kind of the passion and focus, but you do have to remember, like, it is he is an Illinois kid, and I'm
Mhm.
not making excuses, because that was one, like I said, it was a true battle, but, I mean, it's not like he was just here in, like, Madison or Milwaukee. I'm just adding that point, like, Illinois has made a stronger push the last 2.5 cycles, I think, to try to keep guys in that state. And
Yep.
Badgers have still gotten plenty of talent there, as we know.
Yep. No, I agree with that. F&M, what are the vibes, attitude like for the players now compared to last year at this time?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Evan. I think that really, I'll even say the staff too. Like, there's still the excitement, the high energy at practices, but one thing I've actually really loved is, and it's going to sound cliche, but I mean, it is the truth. I'm at the practices. I'm getting to speak with these guys. Like, there's just a level of, I think, additional motivation and maybe not an additional level of focus because that was obviously there, but like basically we mean business type of feel. These guys, they lost some talent, lost some guys to the NFL, but like a lot of returners are back. I think it's several spots like DB room, O line, several wideouts, running backs. They know last year was not okay. They're not happy with it. There were like a lot of tough times and hurt feelings in there after I think the culture was starting to evolve really well last year into more of what the staff wants. So I hope that kind of answers it, Ryan and Evan. I just think it's like it's hard to quantify, but that is really how I would describe it. And that's why I've said, I mean, I just saw on our 247 sports show, like people are talking about, the over underline and saying like under 5.5. I just don't see that. I'm not picking anything crazy, but like the talent is up, the coaching is in a good spot, and they've had time with Brady Collins and co. So I'm optimistic. I know I'll be on your show probably 3, 4 more times before that,
Yeah.
but that's kind of where it's at.
You damn well better be. I'll just say that. Uh, really quick on that because I want to get a couple more questions, but I want to be very sensitive to your time because I know you got a bunch of stuff going on. I agree with it. I like seeing some of the frustration. Talk to a couple of the offensive linemen, and they were pissed about what happened against Iowa. I as a fan, that's all you want. You want them to care, and I think
Oh
that
yeah.
they very clearly do. So I'm
Well, I mean, Ryan, I can tell you without naming schools that like there are some spots out there where there are players that truly just care about kind of getting their money and they don't really care how the team's doing. This is not one of those places.
I love it. This one's from Brian Shetty. How do you feel about the receiver depth? And thoughts on Hilton seeing the field this year?
I really like the receiver depth. I think that Hilton flashed a lot. Everybody knows whether it's on here or kind of on my site. I'm super high on Hilton. I went out to Indy, I think, 4 times to see him in the Zy Davis. So like definitely some good, strong, like positive bias toward his game. But there are a lot of guys in that room right now. I mean, Anthony, Ballard, Tretch, kind of quote unquote locked in your top 3. Tyrell Henry has emerged.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Brooks has done a lot of good things. Like they loved what they saw from him this spring. And then obviously you add the Hawaii wideout, DeKel Crowdis too. So I think that there is some real depth there. I think you'll see him at times, but I just hope people can temper their expectations in that sense.
Nick, I'm going to let you take us out of this because we're getting up on 30 minutes. Any last thought that you have right now? Something that's been rattling your brain? We'll call this kind of Nick's 1-minute monologue, whatever it is, man. What else is going on with you right now?
Man, this is just it's one of the most, really important months of the year, like for our coverage, because official visits start ramping up. I can't believe it. I can't believe we're talking about June. I would say this class is off to a pretty good to really good start. I know that like King Liggins happened recently and things, but I would tell people to just continue to follow along, stay locked in with our stuff. We've got updates all the time. And I think it is going to be a pretty fun and eventful June, just as we've seen from the staff the last 2 cycles.
Phenomenal, man. He is the great Nick Osen. Please go check out his work. Appreciate every single one of you for tuning into this community. As always, whether you jumped on live, you're going to watch it later, listen later. Maybe you're going to be doing it at work instead of work, and that's cool with me too. Whatever it is, thank you for joining us. Nick, as always, and I appreciate you. Always hope to do more of these whenever we are able to sync up schedules on Wisconsin, and we will talk to all of you later.